Welcome to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I'm your host, Verdel Jones. And being an educator at heart, I'm dedicated to sharing conversations that inform and enlighten in the hopes that you learn something you may not have known. So welcome to the show. We're here live at Paradise Studios on the Strong Island Television Network. So make sure you share and like this show so everybody can check out what we're doing here. So we're in season 5, and season 5 is about embracing your life. And for this winter season, we're talking about gratitude and what we're grateful for. We can be seen every second and fourth Thursday live here. 6:30, we have great guests and always great conversations. We can also now be seen on Roku on the Strong Island Entertainment channel, so you can check us out there and check out all of the awesome shows that are on the network as well. So make sure you tune into that if you have Roku. We are looking for partner sponsors. You know, we have some great content that we share with individuals. You know, as I always say, I want people to come away with something, knowing something, or learning something. So if you are interested in supporting good content or being a guest on the show, you can check me out, give me a ring. And I also want to let you know that we have a upcoming event, the Write, Rhyme, and Recite Collective. So if you know any seniors on Long Island that have a flair for poetry, we have a Poetry Slam scholarship. We have students submit a 2 to 3 minute reciting of poems, and then we pick the top 3, and the top 3 will be selected to attend the Write, Rhyme, and Recite Collective, and they will compete for first, second, and third place, and they're all guaranteed a scholarship, and our top prize is $1,500. So if you know any seniors that, like I said, you know, like to share their poems and can compete in a poetry slam, please make sure you give me information. So we're really excited about that, and we're looking forward to students to apply. The deadline is March 15th, so they have to get on it quickly. We're also looking for authors. So we're looking for authors to participate in the event. We've had authors in the past kind of come and share their book and talk about their book, you know, sell it and all of that. So we're looking for authors, and information will be going on my Facebook page, Conversations with Verdel Jones, shortly. Also, let's see. It's the week in review. So let's just talk about it. You know, we have some great guests today, so I'm going to go quickly through the week in review. We had an awesome event yesterday. Our daughter, Maya, she had a relaunch of her website, her media outlet, Shades of Long Island. We had about 100 people there. Our whole family was there, and it was just an awesome event. And the basis of Shades of Long Island is about diversity. And I can't tell you, I've never seen a more diverse room, people that were in the space. So it was just really awesome. Before we go to a commercial break, because I'm running short on time, I want to make sure I get all my guests in today. I just want to let you know that Conversations with Verdel Jones is now on, what are we on? We are on the Rewind Network. So we're going to be broadcasting on Comcast in DC, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and soon to be Atlanta. So we are really excited about that. So on today's show, we're celebrating Black History Month. And my guests today are dedicated to Black excellence and celebrating African American culture and seeing that we advance in our communities in a positive way. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to welcome our first guest. Yeah.
The opportunity to see what it looks like and be a part of it.
Welcome back to Conversations with Verdel Jones. As you see, I have my first guest here, Jason Richberg. He is campaigning to become the next Suffolk County Legislator for the 15th District in New York. So we're going to talk about that. But we're celebrating Black History Month today. So I wanted to kind of highlight some famous or, notable African Americans in the area of politics. So first up, we're going to talk about Hiram R. Revels. He was a Republican U.S. Senator. He was a minister of the in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. He was a college administrator. He was born free in North Carolina. He later lived and worked in Ohio, and he voted before the Civil War. And he became the first African American to serve in the U.S. Congress as a senator representing Mississippi in 1870 and 1871 during the Reconstruction era. And I also want to mention Shirley Chisholm. Shirley Chisholm became the first African-American Congresswoman in 1969. She made history again when she became the first African-American to be a major party candidate for president, running for Democratic nomination in 1972. So I just wanted to highlight those two individuals because we're going to be talking about politics, and it's definitely nice to kind of reach back and talk about those individuals. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to know where you came from
That's
before
right.
we can move forward.
Absolutely. What are you grateful for?
I'm just grateful for opportunities. A lot of times we don't take stock of the things that we are given or we have opportunity to just have.
Right.
A lot of us don't realize that we are more fortunate than a majority of the rest of the world.
Right. Absolutely.
The fact that we're able to wake up and turn on a faucet and water comes out is a lot better than a lot of folks. More than half of the population of the planet. So I'm just grateful for these opportunities.
Right.
But more importantly, I'm grateful for the chance to make a change in somebody else's life.
Right.
I mentor a number of different groups, and I have conversations with folks, and just sometimes that one conversation that you have with them, you never know where it's going to change, and you never know not only that, but how it's going to affect them 5, 10, 15 years later.
Absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned that. I'm a teacher, always a teacher, administrator now, but I'm still always a teacher.
Right.
And I had a student that at my daughter's event, I had her in Baldwin years and years ago. She came up to me, she was like, Miss Jones, you encouraged me to be an entrepreneur. So it's like things like that. You never know what little things you do for people will really have an impact.
You're right.
Yeah. So you are running to move Suffolk forward.
Yes, I am.
And what does that mean?
So what that means to me is that there isn't a left or a right way to do things. I think a lot of times we get caught talking at each other instead of with each other.
Okay.
And so when that happens, we get lost on the 15 things that we don't agree on instead of the 3 things that we do agree on.
That we come together on.
And so that's what my whole focus is on. Like, let's have conversations with folks. I've been knocking on doors all over the district and really talking to people.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent or a libertarian. The thing is that we all have an investment in the community, and because of that, we need to figure out where we all agree, and then we can move forward. It doesn't matter what I want to do or what your perspective is. It really matters what the collective, what the people need, and what the people want.
Right. So now you are the clerk for the Suffolk County Legislator,
I'm the first African American to be in that position.
Okay. Wow. So how does that experience, and how long have you done that, and how will that experience help you as a county legislator?
So I've been in this role as clerk for 5 years.
Okay.
And so there's not a piece of legislation, a report, a document that comes to the legislature over the last 6 years, because I was chief deputy clerk before that, that I haven't seen.
Right.
So, when it comes to sitting in the operating budget working groups, I have to sit there, take the votes, and I get to listen to how decisions are made.
So you're there.
I'm sitting in the room.
Right. You're doing it really, right? I mean, you're learning and you take all that information in. What is the biggest challenge in the 15th district?
I think the biggest challenge is accessibility.
Okay.
I think a lot of things we're not accessible to a lot of people, and because the county is not accessible. The only county service that's in the district is the legislator's office.
Interesting.
So there's not a DPW site, there's not a county park, there's none of there's town things in the but there's nothing from the county. So a lot of times, especially when I was working in district office, people would come in and say, I hear you help people.
Right.
And that's, being accessible to folks is important. Making sure we reach out and have those conversations and keep folks in their homes and helping them navigate with the complex area that is government, like that's what's important. And that's why I say accessibility.
Accessibility. And giving people that knowledge, because they just don't know, what a county legislator can help them with.
Well, and the thing is, it doesn't matter if it's in the county when I was the chief of staff, it didn't matter if it's something that the county doesn't do. What I would do is I'd find the person who can do
That's
it,
right.
and then walk you through it. And if you come back to me and say, oh, well, that person didn't help you, well, no, see, now I have a problem with that person, and now we have to figure out why.
And
exactly.
work that out. So you're a North Babylon High School graduate.
Yes, I am.
You went to HBCU,
Wilberforce
University.
Yes, the first historically black private university in the nation.
Nice. You're a husband, you're a father, and definitely a community advocate. What has been your proudest or biggest accomplishment in working with the community?
I think it happens every day. So either with the youth caucus that we started about 10 years ago, or with the PAGE program that I started about 5-6 years, it's going to be our 6th year. Just hearing back from our students. We have some videos about to come out with some of the young men and young women who I've helped over the past time, and just hearing where they are now. You know, I have a former intern who sat in the impeachment hearing.
Oh, wow.
I have another intern who's in the middle in their 2nd year of law school. You know, I have another. I mean, I can go on and on and on about who these kids are, and sometimes I call them my kids because my wife, we had kids before we had kids. But that's what I think is great is that anytime I think that oh man, this has just been a hard day or whatever, I see something on Facebook or I see one of my kids or one of their parents come to me and say such and such, they're doing a great job. They just got a job in HR in DC, or they're working for this lobbyist firm or whatever. And that wouldn't have happened if you didn't talk to them that one day.
That's right. Yeah, it makes a difference. It really, really does. What are some issues that you're passionate about?
So I think leadership development is really important. I think the environment, especially in our district, especially because we're right on the water. You saw, or I don't know if you know, but President Trump just pulled some of the dredge equipment out that was fixing our South Shore. He sent it down to Florida. Suffolk County's always been a leader in environmental policy, and I think because of that, that's one of the things that's really important. Sewering our county, 70% of our county does not have sewers. So
really?
Yes. So in order to sewer the whole county, it costs almost like $30 billion to do that.
Wow.
So we were able to fight to make sure that the North Babylon community, Northwest Babylon community, was able to get sewers.
Wow.
So those are a couple of issues, public safety, not only dealing with the police aspect and the deputy sheriffs and the like, but also the health aspect. You see that we have this coronavirus outbreak.
Yes.
I had a conversation with Dr. Piggott, who's the new commissioner of health, earlier today, and he was saying
newly appointed, right?
Newly appointed.
Yeah.
He
I watched the feed.
The legislatures always have a live feed. But he said, out of the firing pan into the fire. He said, I'm in the job not even a week, and now he's got to deal with a scare. And these are things that are really important that the county does that not everybody knows. The folks who measure to make sure you have the right amount of gas in your tank, that's the county. The folks who check the balances at the supermarket is the county.
Right.
All those things happen at the county level.
Yeah. So the special election is coming up.
Yes, March 10th.
Yes, let everybody know March 10th.
March 10th, and early vote starts February 29th. So this Saturday is starting
early
voting.
voting.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
For every election from now on, there will be an early
even
vote.
Special elections.
Even special elections.
That's great. So you would go to your normal
polling
place?
So the Board of Elections will probably set up a polling place for the special elections.
For the special elections. I got you.
Just for early vote. Your normal polling.
On March 10th, that's your normal polling place? Right, okay. So how do you want to improve the life of, you talked about, various things, but how does the county legislator or in the 15th district, how do you improve the life of individuals? Like, what is it tangible that people could say, oh, my county legislator can do that?
So county roads is definitely an easy thing. Infrastructure. Making sure that our water quality is up. Communicating with our law enforcement and to making sure we're all held accountable to the right standard. Creating programs. There was nothing that I did in the legislator's office that, when I was working for Dwayne, he gave us a lot of authority to sort of do things and innovate. we would do Know Your Rights seminars, and just so people know what they can do when they go to, have a financial services person,
Right.
or when they're meeting with DSS, or when they're having, because a lot of times the main thing people need to know is how to navigate. There's a reason why, when you got the newest smartphone, the first app on there is navigation.
Right.
Because people don't know how to get places.
How to get places,
and
right.
sometimes government is very slow and cumbersome, and you don't know how to navigate it. And when you don't know how to navigate it, it becomes frustrating.
Right.
And then it's frustrating for you, and it's frustrating for the person who's serving you at the same time. And so then you're just creating this, it's this intense friction, which doesn't help.
Right. So I went to an event yesterday. My daughter's, launched the website, and it kind of centers around, part of it is diversity, but it's also millennials.
Right.
So what would you say to millennials about staying on Long Island? We talked about, how we always talk about housing and how, it's not affordable. So what would you say to millennials about staying here and building a family?
So I know your daughter is actually working with the Urban League to start back the Urban League Young Professionals.
Yes.
And so I was a former vice president of the Urban League Young Professionals. So I would say the first step is you need to network with other folks. And I think, there are organizations that have come together, but I think we need to hear more about what's important. I think the other part is that when you talk about affordability is that there isn't the quantity of places for people to live.
Right.
Right? So because there's not a quantity, the market will dictate that the rent is higher than it should be. Right? And so that forces folks, because there is cheaper rents, that forces folks to then live in a one room, rent a room type situation, which isn't legal. But I think the most important thing is we need to hear from you. I hand out my cell phone number to everyone, because I want to have these conversations so I know how to advocate best.
Right.
Because I know my perspective. My perspective is I don't think you should pay rent in the same amount of money that you could pay for a mortgage, right? But I think we also need to modernize our codes. Like, we need to work with our town partners to say, well, maybe houses that you could that folks can live, like 3 or 4 people could live in a house, is a better alternative, right?
Exactly.
Especially when you have a number of folks who can't afford their mortgages at this point in time, because maybe they took out their mortgage at a point in time where they're making more money than they are now. And so now we need to revisit what we're really doing.
Right.
I think we really have to take a wholehearted look at everything that we're doing, diagnose the problem, and then move forward.
Exactly. So how can people support you?
So, we're always looking for folks to knock on doors, have conversations. Okay. This Saturday at 74 East Sunrise Highway at Babylon Democratic Headquarters, we're having a rally, and then we're going to get out and start knocking on doors and making phone calls and the like. But, you can come to our website, jasonrichberg.com, JASONRICHBERG.com, and you can click the volunteer link, and somebody will be following up with you. Also, my email, richbergforsuffolk@gmail.com. You can reach out to me there as well, and someone will get back to you. And use any of those links to just communicate. I want to know what's going on. I've had a lot of folks reach out to me. I've had a lot of conversation, especially over the last 5 or 6 weeks, and it's good conversation because then I learn more about what everybody needs.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it was a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you for
on
having
Conversations.
me. Thank you. I hope it's not the last time.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to welcome our next guest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was great.
Welcome back to Conversations with Verdel Jones. As you see, I have my next guest here, Mr. Jerald Hoover. He is an award-winning author, and for over 25 years, he has been dedicated to serving our youth. So it's Black History Month, and since we're talking about education, I wanted to highlight a couple of educators, African-American educators. So first up is Mary McLeod Bethune. She was born on July 10th in 1875 in Maysville, South Carolina. She founded a school for African Americans in Florida, which later became Bethune-Cookman College. And she was its president as well. She also served on the Franklin D. Roosevelt's cabinet as an advisor about Black issues, and Mary McLeod Bethune was a leading educator and civil rights activist. She's known as the First Lady of the Struggle because of her commitment to gain better lives for African Americans. And next up is Malfi Kiti Ashanti. He's a professor and philosopher and the leading figure in African American studies. He created the country's first African American PhD program at Temple University in 1987. Ashanti is a pioneer in contemporary Afrocentric philosophy and has authored more than 25 books. And Temple is our daughter's alma mater, so I had to give him a shout out. So welcome to Conversations with Verdel Jones. It's nice to have you. So we're going to jump right into it. So for our winter season on Conversations with Verdel Jones, we talk about gratitude. So what are you grateful for?
Life, health, and strength. Mm-hmm. You know, with life is so precious. You know, you here today, gone same
today.
Day. Yeah. And,
Right.
You know, especially with the situation with Kobe Bryant.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, being
Something about that.
It's
right?
It has left a stain, or
Yeah.
it's stinging everybody.
Yeah.
You know, white, black, male, female,
Right.
rich, poor. It's hitting everybody.
It's hitting, yeah.
Because you know he was on his way to do something good, and
That's
all of a
right.
sudden he got cut down.
Right.
So it's, you know, so I would say life, health, and strength.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And one of the things I'm trying to learn is don't criticize, don't complain, and don't judge. You know, it's hard to do that when you're used to complaining. You know,
I know.
too much traffic, too much this, too much.
Right, yeah.
But if you can learn how to not complain. Now, I'm not saying don't right or wrong, but I'm talking about just complain just to be complaining.
Right.
Don't complain, don't criticize, don't judge. You'll be surprised your air breathes a
I
lot
like
easier.
that.
It's
I
a lot
like
easier.
that. I like
It's
that.
work, but
I like that.
It's good to work.
That's gonna be my mantra.
Yeah, don't complain, don't
That's gonna be my
judge,
mantra.
don't criticize.
As soon as I go into work, you know.
You know what happens, but if you can put into your mind, and what they
That's
say,
right.
it takes 21 days to break
Right.
a habit, you know, and I think 90 days to really to live into it
Right,
and live in the
yeah,
habit.
right.
So I think once you do it, you know, a few days,
Right.
few weeks, few months, it kind of
Yeah.
becomes who you are.
I like that. I love that. So let's jump right into it. You are an author and you've been writing since you were a teenager.
Well, actually, I started my first book when I was 8 years old.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
you go. So
yeah.
you really love writing. What excites you about writing?
It's weird because when I write, I'm writing something from scratch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a thought comes in my mind, like my characters, and I'm able to give them life, it's a powerful feeling. You know what I mean? Because it's like I gave birth to something, and people read it and like it. And it's not an ego thing, but it's a gratitude thing.
yeah,
It
right.
makes you feel really good
absolutely.
because it helps boost self-esteem. So and that helped me a lot because when I growing up, I had a stuttering problem. I actually still stutter. And what I love when I speak to young men and women, when I'm speaking to schools and so forth, and I'll tell them I'm a motivational speaker. I get paid to do this, but I stutter. And the first thing I say is that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
A motivational speaker that stutters. that makes no sense.
But it must mean your message is powerful.
That's when someone told me. They said, "Don't worry about the messenger. The message
The
is
message,
what happened." Yeah.
exactly. So you've been writing since you were a child,
Yeah.
and the stories just come to you. But now what you've done, you have what's called a hero book series.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about the hero book series. We talked for a good little while
Yeah.
about your mission, and I know you are passionate about literacy, not only literacy for our kids, but also showing them characters that they can kind of relate to.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little
Sure.
bit about that.
This dream started with a speech. My dad, unfortunately, he's no longer with us. He suffered from drug addiction, alcoholism, and his family was in that way.
Right.
And I saw that growing up, and there was a fear. I had a fear that I might go the same way, you know, because it would just seemed that way. I mean, I didn't feel like I didn't want to drink or anything like that, but just seeing it was hereditary or it was around me. And I always tell people I thank God for me having a stuttering problem, because one day I wrote a speech, and the speech was for it was written by me, but it was written for 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, you know, teenagers, and that they would grab hold to the message that I was saying, like don't do drugs, stay in school, you know, that sort of thing.
And what age were you when?
I was 17.
You were 17. You were 17. So,
I was 17.
Got it.
So I was writing it to us,
To your
at
peers.
the time, right, to my peers. But you know, we didn't back in I was 83. We didn't have any fax machines. We didn't have, you know, we didn't have social media. I couldn't hit send or anything like that. So I'm thinking like, what am I doing with this speech? And I'll never forget, one day I was playing basketball at the famed 4th Street Playground in Mount Vernon. And I had an epiphany. I mean, literally, I was playing basketball, and I might have been on defense, and this voice came to me and said, write a book about Bennett Wilson. I mean, I didn't know who Bennett Wilson was. I was like, what am I doing that? And then I was in such a sort of a daze. The ball hit me in the head while I was playing. You know, it was like, pay attention. You know? So I got the epiphany, right? That was in the summer, right? But I soaked it in. I still had the speech, but I'm thinking now, okay, write this book, and now this is my third try at writing a book. I started when I was 18, when I was 8 years old. That book was called "I Was a Sad Boy," because my mother and father was going through a divorce, so I wrote like a little. But I didn't try to get it published. I just wrote.
Yeah, you just wrote it.
Not realizing that was therapy for me, because I was getting stuff out my system. Then I tried to write a book about race relations. When I was in 9th grade, I had a fictional black youth that made friends with a white boy, and I got to about the 5th chapter, and for some reason I let a teacher discourage me. They read it and then sort of black marked it, and I was like, so I stopped.
You stopped.
But when I was in the 12th grade, when I wrote this speech, and then I had this epiphany, it was no holds barred.
Right, yeah.
Now this is in 83. I had no writing utensils other than an ironing board, notebook pad, and paper, and a pen.
And a pen.
And the reason I say ironing board is because the way we lived in my apartment, my mom, my sister, and myself, the kitchen table was next to her bedroom. So I was like, I need somewhere to write and have some solitude. So I use her ironing board.
Okay,
and I always tell people, it was a project ironing board, because if you lift it up all the way, it was wobbly. So if I wanted to sit down so I can write, I had to tie a hairnet. Don't tell I did this now. If she's watching, I'm gonna get it. Yeah, I'm gonna catch it now. But I took one of her scarves and tied it at the bottom so it wouldn't collapse. But the first 9 drafts were written by hand. Literally, I mean, from chapter 1 to chapter 20. And the funny thing about it was my cousin, who actually used to live in Massapequa, I lived in Mount Vernon. He took me on his wing. He would edit it for me, and I mean, he was brutal. I mean, he wouldn't call me stupid or nothing like that. I mean, it wasn't about that. But if I made a mistake or he saw I got lazy with a sentence, man, he'd give it to me, man. And I'm like, why are you yelling at me like that? You know, why you? His thing was, he said, Jerald, I don't want people to buy the book because you wrote it. And I'm thinking, duh, why not? But his thinking was, I want people to buy the book because it was a good book. Fast forward, I finally got it in handwritten form. I mean, in draft form, manuscript form. Then I was able to send out to publishers. And I started doing that about in 84. From 84 to 1992, I got rejected 42 times.
Wow.
From agents, publishers, lawyers, editors, you name it. But the rejection letters were never bad. They never said, "Oh, this book is terrible. Get another hobby, or whatever." They all told me how good the book was. The book was great. The book was this, but that. But what they always said at the bottom was, "Unfortunately, it's not right for our list." So I'm trying to think, what does this list mean?
Yeah.
They didn't think young black men or black girls or would buy the book. But I'm like, I never said this was a black book. I'm a black man, you know, giving you a black experience.
Right.
So I put essay questions in the back of the book.
Okay.
And so I said, when the book is published, not if, when the book is published, I'm gonna sell it to schools, churches, and community-based organizations. So they actually did me a favor, because even though it took 8 years, 9 years to get published, I learned so much about life, about marketing, so I now it became a business. So that one book, as you mentioned, the series became My Friend, My Hero. It became He Was My Hero Too. It became A Hopeful Hero. and it became Hoop Hero.
Okay.
It also became a screenplay that I'm working on that. I have a screenplay form. Also a stage play musical.
Okay.
Also,
Wow.
I'm looking at going to animation and a cartoon. And a comic book series.
Okay.
So it
So
blessed me.
from 8 years old to now.
54.
I
put it out there.
You didn't have to say age, but okay, you look good, so that's good.
Thank you.
It's about perseverance, you know, and that's a testimony in itself, you know, that you were passionate about, you know, your writing, and you were able to, you know, see this come to fruition. So how do you go into school? What do you do with schools? How do you assist? You also have tools for teachers to be
Curriculum,
able
yeah.
to teach the book and really get into some great information.
Well, what I did was, because I had the essay questions in the back of the book, right? So I was thinking I want to broaden it so that young men and women, because here's the thing, I was getting letters from young men and women, and I'm seeing the word "you" spelled with a letter. I'm seeing.
Oh, right.
I'm seeing the word. I'm seeing the word "I" lowercase.
Right.
I'm seeing run-on sentences. I'm seeing young men and women not being in right cursive, right, in script as we call it.
Right.
I'm seeing the word there, to, no, used entirely like it was like throwing up against the wall and just picking which one. And
Right.
I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. So I'm seeing that these young men and women aren't. I know what they're trying to say, but they're not saying it
They're not
correctly.
saying it right.
So I was thinking they need to get more comprehension, literacy, you know, and get better at what they're doing.
Right.
So I came up with, God gave me the vision to come up with a curriculum. And so I came up with a student success workbook, a teacher's edition, so the answers and everything are there, and a unit assessment.
Okay.
And so that's for book 1, which is My Friend, My
This
Hero,
one,
right?
okay.
Now each book, this is My Friend, he was my hero 2, and a hopeful hero, and the 4th book will be coming soon.
Okay.
Each book will have its own
own
curriculum.
set, got it, own
Yeah, so
curriculum.
this
Okay.
is just a book 1.
And what age group is this for?
This can go from 5th grade on up.
Oh, really?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And I did that on purpose, Ms. Jones, because I noticed, if you ever notice, most foundations, they start with K and they end at 4 or 5.
Okay,
They
right.
don't go past that.
Right.
So my thinking is, I'm like, what happens to our babies from the 5th grade on? Because they start thinking about dropping out of school in middle school.
Right.
All right, you got. I mean, I've
tap out.
I've been to certain middle schools. I'm not gonna say even the area, and they're like, when I'm 16 years old, I'm out of here.
Wow.
I'm like, out of where?
Right.
Dropping out. I'm like, you kidding me? So I mean, we're at a crisis right now. So what happens when I go there? I'm transparent and I tell them about my struggles. Because and see what happens is that when I go to school, I'm wearing a suit and tie because I'm going as a businessman. This is who I am. But I don't let them think that I'm above them. I'm like, okay, this is what I wear, but I let you know I'm from the projects. And when I let them know about my dad, and you know,
Right.
I'm from a broken home and different things of that nature, and the fact that it took me so long to get published,
Right.
I open up to them.
Yes.
So now they can relate to me. They're like,
Absolutely.
okay, you're not the man.
Right.
You know
They
what I
want
mean?
they want to hear your story.
Right.
If you just were to come there, oh, I'm an author and my book is about being a hero, and you don't give them any background, they won't receive it.
And the beautiful thing about it is that they can see themselves in the book.
Absolutely.
I've gone to white schools, and I've had tons of white young men and women say, man, I can relate to this.
Right.
And it's like, wow. When I first started hearing that, I was like,
Right.
okay, this is serious.
Right.
So I really knew that when God put his hands on me to write this book, you know, he didn't say it was going to be easy, but here I am.
So you also mentioned when we were talking, you talked about the vitamin C's for success. What are the vitamin C's for success? And is that's integrated, I would imagine, in the teaching that when the teachers get these books and all of that, what is that?
That's integrated in everything. I even do workshops with that. I do workshops, do professional development with teachers, staff,
Okay.
students, whatever. Confidence, commitment, courage, consistency, and composure. And you may think, well, what does composure have to do with it? The same thing confidence does.
Right.
A confident man a confident person doesn't lose their composure so easy. This is why you have a lot of fights.
Right.
You have bullying. You have a lot of things like that. So the vitamin C's is really a social, emotional component.
Right.
And what I've learned, Ms. Jones, is that now, had I lost confidence when I got my first rejection, I would have stopped.
Right.
But to do it 42 times,
Right.
is like, and when I think about it, I'm like, that is, dude, you was on a mission.
I might have given up at 20.
No, but here's the thing. Like I said, the first 9 drafts were written by hand.
Right.
When I used to write one draft, my cousin Ron would edit it, and like I say, he was brutal. But the thing is, sometimes he would like write 2 pages of notes and stick it in somewhere. And
Wow.
so, yeah, so the spiral notebook will go from here when I
Right.
first wrote it to about there.
Right,
So
right.
now I had to go writing by hand and go and write my stuff
Right,
plus his stuff.
plus his stuff.
I did that like 8 times. I'm like, how did I, from the time I wrote
Wow.
my first draft, when I think about it now, I'm like, how did I do that? But
Yeah.
I had tunnel vision.
Yeah, you were determined.
I was determined.
Yeah.
Now, I still play ball. I mean, I still have friends. I did everything, but when it was time to write, when we had
Wow.
days off,
That's all you
I
did.
wrote from 7 o'clock in the morning to 2 the next morning.
So how can schools reach out to you if they want you to speak? And what types of things do you do? Workshops? Like, how does that work and how can people reach out to you?
Sure. Well, I have a website. It's called The Hero Book Series, and please put the word "the" there. The Hero Book Series. I just recently became a MEBE. So I was
What's a MEBE?
MEBE.
Minority
right.
business.
And
Yes.
I got put in like very quickly.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
because my stuff was together. Thank God
Okay.
for people who helped me. Normally, I'm also a vendor for the NYC DOE.
Okay.
But I go to schools across the country.
Okay.
So reach out to me. We'll come up with a game plan, and I will come. Now, what I normally like is for the young men and women to have the books before I get there.
Okay.
Because now you have sort of more of a celebration.
Right.
And then when I'm able to tell them things, and what happens is too, I went to school just recently, which I loved, and they got the first book. They had bought 160 books, the principal did.
Okay.
And I had an assembly with the 7th and 8th grade. It was fabulous.
Yeah.
They read the book so much. I just got a text from the principal recently and said, Mr. Hoover, my children love your book so much, they want book 2.
Nice.
Ding, ding, ding. Not a problem. I said, invoice will travel.
Right.
I said, so they're gonna have book
That's
2,
awesome.
and then I'll be able to go back. So it's not a hard sequence. It's just a matter of, well, you contact me, and I'll send you, the script of what I need, and usually it depends on the setting. I like to have a PowerPoint presentation where I give them the vitamin C's.
Okay.
And I'm able to talk. Usually I can't get through the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it gets deep. It gets really
yeah.
deep. And then when you interact with the young people, when you start hearing what they say,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised that they're brilliant. My only fear,
They are.
Ms. Jones, is that because technology is such where it is, it's becoming an illusion where young men and women are not reading properly.
Right.
And what's happening is that they're getting pushed through the system because they're pressing buttons.
Yeah.
But now when you tell them to write something on their own,
true.
it becomes
You
a
see
problem.
it, right.
But here's the thing: if you go down to a lot of metropolitan cities, you don't see our color people wearing suits going into buildings, going to upper floors.
Right.
So you see what's going on, and then a lot of times these young men and women are getting passed through the system, and they're not going with skills. So back in the day when I grew up, you had a skill in carpentry, electrician.
Right.
You was able to go into a job.
Right.
Now these young men and women are graduating and really can't tell time on the clock.
Right.
They can't sign their name
They
because they
can't.
took out cursive writing. So
Exactly.
they really are graduating without anything to go with.
Right.
And if they don't want to go to college, they're short.
They're short.
So that's one of the things that I'm really trying to help, because I look at it now as that we're in crisis mode. Because I was telling someone recently, in 20 to 25 years, if we're not careful, and I mean this very sincerely, we're going to have an educational apocalypse. And a lot of our young baby girls won't have any black men to marry. Wow. It's not about race so much, but I'm just talking about in terms
Right.
of
I understand.
the 2 people you just mentioned, particularly Miss Bethune-Cookman. She was an educator.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when you think about this in slavery time, I know you got another question, but let me get this out. Slavery time, they were killing our ancestors, or brutally torturing them for even trying to read and write.
Right.
Now
Exactly.
now you can't get our babies to read and write.
Exactly.
It's a bad situation.
So we are out of time.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that people know how to contact you. We had your contact information. We're going to show it again. And I just want to thank you for being a guest on Conversations with Verdel Jones.
Long time coming. I'm glad I'm here though.
And we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have our next guest. Thank you.
Looking for a way to promote yourself or business? Do you need a quick and easy way for your clients or audience to see what you're about? Myanmar Productions is the solution to your promotional needs. A video on a landing page can help increase conversions by 80% or more. And marketers who use video grow revenue 49% faster than non-video users. With our personal attention to detail, we will create a video that will help you promote yourself or business professionally and attract the attention of potential customers. 64% of consumers make a purchase after watching branded social videos, and an initial email with the video receives an increased click-through rate by 96%. We create videos for business owners, authors, speakers, and more. From storyboarding and voiceovers to editing, Myanmar Productions will work with you to create a promotional video that will increase your visibility and generate revenue. Family is our foundation, and with Myanmar Productions, our family is there for you. For a free consultation, contact us at myanmarproductions@gmail.com or call us at 516-289-4947.
Conversations with Verdel Jones. As you see, we are getting ourselves situated. We have our next guest here in studio. We got some equipment around, but you know, we are celebrating Black History Month. So I wanted to highlight a couple of individuals, African Americans, that are in the STEM field. So first up, we have Katherine Johnson. Okay, Katherine Johnson was a mathematician and a physicist whose calculations of orbital mechanics as a NASA employee were critical to the success of space flight. She was known for her major contributions to United States aeronautics and space programs with the early application of digital electronic computers. Her work was recognized and featured in the movie Hidden Figures. And Ms. Johnson just passed away a couple of days ago, February 24th, 2020, at the age of 101. So, and next up, now this one, okay, this one is like this. I had to give a shout out to Dr. Rick Kittles, because he is a Central Islip graduate, and you all know I got that CI pride. He's a biologist specializing in human rights genetics, and in the 1990s he pioneered work in tracing the African ancestry, and he actually co-founded African Ancestry and doing DNA testing. And you've seen his work on like finding your roots, and he's done DNA for African Americans such as Oprah and John Lewis and all of that. And while his pioneering work in genetics, he also has contributed greatly to academia by discovering ways to prevent prostate cancer in Black men. So we are very proud of Dr. Rick Kittles. Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to have you. We have a lot going on. Like I was mentioning, we have a lot of stuff on the table. We have something in the back over there. Oh, yeah. So we have Dr. Subrina Oliver, and she's an educational specialist, and she's also the CEO of Ojai Technologies, LLC. We have also with us Sergeant Tony Reid, and we have M. Grace Cantwell. And these are the individuals behind the drones. So we're going to be talking about drones today. But before we get started talking about the drones, tell us a little bit about what Ojai Technologies is and what your work is involved in the STEM world.
So what my work is I found it very necessary to create a company that will bridge academia to the workforce. And not just the workforce, but the STEM industries, and where we, Black and brown people are largely absent. Yeah. And what I do is, through the company, what we do is what we look for are opportunities, to educate us and create a pathway for us. Right. And that's what brings us here today, and that's what brings us also to drone technology.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn about these drones and the technology. So why is STEM so important?
STEM is very important simply because it teaches you different ways to think. First and foremost, it makes you a better problem solver. Yeah. It also makes you a critical thinker, the way you analyze things, the way that you can actually just look at resources and forge different ideas, and what I love most about STEM and STEM education especially is that you're not thinking in isolation. You're always
It's a
thinking about
team.
multiple
Yeah, right?
subjects, right? The disciplines are interdisciplinary.
Okay.
Right? And so it just makes you look at things very differently.
Right.
If I could tell you that without a doubt, whatever problem you're dealing with, whether it is to challenge Elon Musk or to bake a cake, there are only 7 basic resources.
Right.
So imagine if you had those types of tools and
Right,
understanding.
exactly, where you could go.
Exactly. And so creating these opportunities is so necessary.
So, Sergeant
Yes.
Tony Reid.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you.
So, what is your background and how do you connect? Because like I said, we're going to be talking about drone technology and getting our kids, our students, and children involved in this type of thing. What is your background?
So I'm in the United States military.
Thank you
so
so much for your service.
serving 13 years or so. And being exposed to these types of technologies is important. So to bring it to our communities and bridging this is everything I've learned. That's exactly how I've been able to do this. This whole technology itself is I had to start somewhere, correct? So being exposed to this in the military, bridging over to our Black and Brown communities is exactly how my starting phase began.
Okay, good. We're going to talk about the drone cadets as well. So now, Grace, it's Grace Cantwell, right? Cantwell. I'm so bad at names, but it's Cantwell, right?
Yes, it is.
So
Thank
now,
you.
how are you involved in this whole process?
Well, I've been working with Sergeant Reid, Tony. The Tony and Grace show happens all over the
I got
country.
to witness the Tony and Grace show. Just
Yes.
saying.
and we work together teaching children how to fly drones. And one
Okay.
of the things we always ask them to keep is safety first. So we would have them yell and join me in it. Drones going up 3 times. Right? Drones going up.
What age group is this?
7
So you probably have to say it like 10 times.
Totally.
No, but they only have to say drones going up, drones going up, drones going up.
Okay.
3 times, and then it goes. And so we're teaching STEM, we're teaching coding, we're helping them to use drones.
Wow.
To learn math, all the different steps: science, technology, engineering, math, and science.
So explain what a drone actually is.
So it's easy, right? So right now what we have right here, this drone itself, utilized with our ESCs, electronic speed controller, accelerometers. It has obviously propellers itself, a camera on the visual, ground station. So it's utilized to collect data, right?
Okay.
Places that we cannot get to, or we want to be able to save time.
Right.
Safety, right? We teach the kids, what's going on now, right? So today's world, we are living in an innovative society where these types of skills have to be developed.
Right.
Not just from the drone perspective, right?
Right.
Still back ends to it, right? We still got to
Right.
be able to utilize and how we're going to fix this drone in case it crashes, right?
Okay.
Right.
Right.
How we're going to solve the software mechanism, security-wise. How we're going to be able to track drones that are not supposed to be in certain airspaces. So counter drone technology. So
There's a lot of areas.
yeah. So
It's many more.
Right.
I wanna
Yeah.
get
more.
think
Right.
about those.
Because when I think of drones, I just think about, I can take some aerial shots. But the thing is, with drones,
Right.
I know there was a situation where I think it was in Dallas, and police officers were shot, and then they sent in a drone
Exactly.
to actually take care of a situation.
Right.
So it's not just
Hey, I'm just going to take a shot.
right. Yeah. Exactly.
Pretty
exactly.
photos.
Right. Pretty photos.
Yeah.
Exactly.
People out
Exactly.
of
It's
harm's
common.
way.
Right, it keeps people out of harm's way. Exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
yeah.
So you have something called drone cadets, correct?
Yes.
So what is
Yes.
what is drone cadets?
So Drone Cadets is a program that I created along with my partner here, Grace, to expose our Black and Brown communities to this technology, right? First, cadets, we obviously, she said before, safety first. Those are mechanisms. But we go through the coding side, right? You got to understand the coding, start with the basics and block detect tech-based coding. Then we go into the building side of it. How is this literally manufactured, made? What is it made out of, right? Then on the technical side, right, maintenance, how we're going to maintain this piece of technology. Then we're going into the flying operations, airspace. These are the things that our communities are never, ever exposed to.
How do you get it out? How do you get it out to the people? How do students get involved with this?
So that's where the STEM education also comes in. And what I found makes sense is to go to the schools.
Okay.
Go to also the
Yes.
municipalities, go to the government.
So you saw we had
identify
Jason
projects.
Richberg here, right?
Absolutely. But also, for example, you got the offshore project, wind project that's happening right here in Long Island Sound.
Coming out.
These are opportunities for the drone, not just for education, but also for jobs and careers. You know, and so
Yes.
that's what really brought us together initially. You know, seeing these opportunities that we can create and take advantage of a project that will also allow, you know, real authentic experiences,
Right.
work experiences,
Yes.
and training experiences, the work development side, but also the education side.
Right.
It also, because these wind farm is actually on the water, on the sound, right? So it also allows us to address other things in our community, such as swimming. It's not just for recreational purposes, but it's also a career
okay.
purpose. So bringing all those different opportunities
Right.
and ideas to the schools, to the families, the communities, and government. So there are many different people that we have to plug in and entities to make this work to actually expose young people to.
Right. So it's not only about it's about learning and all of that, but it's about the opportunities for future.
Absolutely.
And we always say, you know, Dr. Oliver brought this to light, but there's an urgent need right now with children as young as we can get them,
Right.
to get them exposed to STEM, because our job right now is to prepare them for jobs that don't even exist yet.
Right.
You always hear
And
that, right?
How,
Yeah,
how do
yeah.
you prepare them by exposing them to technology at a very young age, getting them comfortable with what makes us uncomfortable?
Right, exactly.
And also that they're already, comfortable, children are already comfortable with the hand-eye coordination.
Sure.
That's right.
Right? And we
True.
need to take
Yeah,
advantage
take
of that by
advantage of
playing
that.
the games.
That's
Exactly.
right.
And we need to see those opportunities.
Right, and
for
why
them.
drones?
Oh, you know.
Because there's so many different areas in STEM.
Yeah.
So, but drones, it seems like you said, there's a lot of layers to drones. So is that the reason why, or?
I've been working with STEM education for a number of years, and I have never found a tech tool that is universally as engaging as
Fascinating.
drones.
Yeah.
Nobody doesn't want to try it.
Right,
Once
right,
you, like you
right.
saw it, you
Yeah.
you were a little afraid at
Yeah,
first, and
right,
that's what they
right.
start with. But then they want, let me try.
Let me
Give me
try.
that control.
Exactly.
And it's also a pathway, so many different areas,
Right.
you know. And then also just in terms of drones, why not drones? When I think of drone technology, when do we see us?
Yeah.
When do we see us?
Right.
Other than playing with it as a toy, but
right,
you know, so
right.
exposing those opportunities. So I definitely always want to look for these technologies. I mean, if a young person decides to even, advance in terms of drone technology, they may also want to explore aviation. You know,
Right.
there's so many other opportunities for them.
The greatest thing about this is
Yeah.
that you can be as young as 16 years old to get your commercial pilot's license.
Absolutely.
So that's, there's the kicker right there, And then you have to, you got either college or you can go into the workforce. So either
Yes.
I could expand upon this more in college, or I could just go into the workforce and I could get those skills, entrepreneurship, get paid money.
Right.
All right? That's what I'm all about, that money.
And we're
All
also
right?
starting to see specialized, like say for the police force, the police departments have drones now, and they have specific
And they
people.
need
We have
people
the fire
to
department.
work them.
So these are now
Exactly.
specialized areas.
So
know?
you can work a drone from, so I saw you have it on your phone and you have that hooked up. I could be at my house and do that.
Oh, so let's not get all right.
she's
Let's,
talking about long
You know,
range.
so you're talking about BBLOS,
Oh,
right?
wait.
So you ain't talking about beyond visual line of
That's the
sight.
bigger boys.
We're gonna have another show for that one, all right? We'll have to have another show on that one.
Yeah, not if you want to be a drone
Let's not
cadet.
get carried
You
away
know.
right now.
Drone cadets don't do that.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
No, not yet.
So you also have this large device that's in the back. I don't know if
Yes.
people can see. Yeah, they can see that.
This is my baby right
Okay.
here. I've taken her to Puerto Rico.
What's her name?
This is called Matrisa, all right? All right? It's Matrice 600, Yeah, we love her because I've taken her everywhere, from hurricanes-wise, we do this professionally.
In Puerto Rico, what did you
Puerto
do?
Rico, we had to map out
like the hurricane, right? Yeah.
Areas of Guayanilla,
Wow.
Guanica. All right, just these are just
Wow.
just talk about some of the things,
Yeah.
applications, what they can provide.
Right.
As you can see that bucket down
I
there,
see.
right? And we could dump some salt down there if it's snowing tonight. All right, so I want the kids to think about these things, expose that.
Right, and it's also it's the technology, but if you have someone who, because I was going to say, what kind of student would be appropriate for this? Because what you mentioned with Puerto Rico, that's helping.
Yeah.
You know, so what kind of student could be involved, or what's a good student to get involved?
We can start them as young as I've seen 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as they can read,
Okay.
write, do simple math,
Okay.
have some fine motor control,
Okay.
and the ability to grasp some abstract concepts. They're
Okay.
ready to fly a drone.
Right.
Yeah.
But I want to also address that we get in trouble with that all
Yes.
the time as educators, and also even in our community. We like to identify. STEM is for everyone. Everyone, you cannot
There's
live
so
or
many
die
areas in
without,
STEM,
say, science or math, right?
Right.
And so even if the child or the young person or the adult cannot do a particular thing, they can still be exposed. They can still be exposed to all the different opportunities, because it may not be that thing, but there are other paths.
Yes.
And
Right.
so we
Yes.
have to stop
Right.
identifying just certain ones for certain things.
And it's the
Right.
education in it, though, because like you were saying, this is a helpful tool.
Right.
So if you have someone that is compassionate about helping people,
Yes,
they could
they
still jump on board with something like this.
Absolutely. Yes.
They
Be
might not
part
be
of
the
the
best
team.
math student, or they might be the best math student. So in other words, keep those doors open. Don't think of it
Right.
one way.
Like everybody can't be an NBA player, right?
Right.
But if you love basketball, you can still be involved in the sport.
Right, exactly.
It's just a different way. So it's the same
Exactly.
thing.
It's the same kind of thing.
Yes.
Same kind of thing. So how can people get in contact with you in reference to High Technologies?
So my website is o-hightech.com. And also you can find me on Twitter at ohightech. And now,
Well, if you want to get in contact with us, Tony Reid, Sergeant Tony Reid, that is, all right? All right, and
We have the
Grace,
drone cadets shot also.
Grace Cantwell here. You get in touch with us at drone-cadets.com, or check us out on Instagram, Drone Cadets, Facebook, Drone Cadets. We are here for you. Safety first, always.
Always.
yeah.
So you know what, we're gonna. I'm not gonna take a quick break, but what I want to do is I want to just make sure that I let everyone know how to get in contact with all of our guests we had here today. So let's see, we started off with Jason Richberg. He is running for Suffolk County Legislator in the 15th District. Special election is March 10th. So make sure you check him out. Go to his website. He has a lot of information about the issues that he supports on his website. So make sure you do that. We also had the pleasure of having Mr. Jerald Hoover. He is an author of the Hero book series, and he goes into schools and really just impacts children in a positive way. And he writes books that relate to our students of color, and not even just our students of color, but all students. There's stories in there that can touch a lot of people and change their lives. And he also has support materials for teachers to be able to use his book and instruct the kids as well. And don't forget about those vitamin C's. And we also had Dr. Subrina Oliver here, and she is the CEO of High Technologies, and she bridges makes that connection between the actual education of technology and the workforce. And we also had the pleasure of having Sergeant Tony Reid and M. Grace Cantwell, and they are from Drone Cadets, and they work with schools in order to provide information about drone technology. And as we heard, I didn't know anything about drone technology, so I am so happy and just really pleased that you were able to share this information. I always want to share information with people, and this is great. So you know what? We are out of time, and I want to thank everybody for watching Conversations with Verdel Jones. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
thank you.
Thank you.